Curves or tone curves is one of the few tools that you can find in almost any editing software, whether you're editing photos or videos. And usually you use that to adjust exposure, adjust your contrast. And one of the feature of the curve that I like the most is you have the ability to control each channel, the red, green, and blue channel. And because of that, you can do color correction, color balance, color grading, just by using the curves. And yeah, whether it is photography or video, you can use curves to do all those things. Let me give you a quick demo on what I'm talking about. Okay. So here in Photoshop, we can access curves by going to Layer, New Adjustment, and then go to Curves. But I prefer like the adjustment layer here because it's a non-destructive adjustment. So by clicking this, you can choose the curves, and it will create a new adjustment layer where you are doing adjustment in a separate layer, so it's less destructive. Yeah, and here in curves you can adjust your exposure by click and dragging the tones. This is the mid-tone, this is the highlights, and this is the shadow. And right now we are in RGB, so for you to be able to use this to color grade or color balance your photo or video, you have to go to the three specific channels. By clicking this, you can go to red, click this again to green channel, and then the blue channel. And here's the thing that you must remember when you're using the curves to color grade. When you are in the red channel, when you click and drag up, let's say here in the midtones, you're adding more red. Okay, but when you click and drag down, you're adding more cyan. So red and cyan are two opposite colors in the red channel. So in the red channel, when you pull up, you're adding more red. When you pull down, you're adding more blue. Okay, and then in the green channel, when you pull up, you're adding more green, and then when you pull down, you're adding more magenta. In the blue channel, when you pull up, you're adding more blue. When you pull down, you're adding more yellow. Just remember that red channel, the opposite of it is the cyan. Okay, and then on the green channel, the opposite of it is magenta, and then in the blue channel, it's yellow. So I just memorize it: red cyan, green magenta, blue yellow. Red cyan, green magenta, blue yellow. So let's try this image. Let's create another curve just to a better demo. So if I go to red, let's start with the blue. So if I want to add, usually I click on the midtone disc just to lock the midtone. So if we want to add more blue on the shadow, just pull this up, and then in between the midtone and the shadow, I want a little yellow. And then if I want the shadow to look more teal, I go to red, select the midtone. So in red, to add more cyan on the shadow, just pull this down right here. So now we have a more cyan looking shadow. And let's go to Lightroom. There's an image. This one I already applied my curves on this. You see like the RGB. This is the blue channel. So the blue channel, I add more blue in the shadows, and then in between the midtone and the shadow, I add more yellow. Even on midtone, I add more yellow. But if I pull this up, it will add more blue to the midtone. On the highlight, I add more yellow, and then the red. See, this is how my curves on the red, where I add more cyan on the shadow and a little bit red in between the midtone and the highlight. On the green, it's almost the same shape, where I add a little bit magenta on the shadow, in between the shadow and the mid-tone, and then the mid-tone more magenta, and then in the highlight is more green. And the reason I'm doing this like opposite on the highlight part, and then opposite on the shadow part, I'm doing a color separation, which is a complementary color, which is like it makes the image more cinematic. Yeah, when you're doing complementary colors. Okay, let's go to Premiere. So here in Premiere, let's color grade this. This is a shot that I took using the Osmo Pocket. So let's click the color tab to access the curves. So here are the curves. We can add more contrast by pulling down this tone right here on the shadow, and then let's pull up a little bit of the shadow here in the RGB, and then lower down the highlights a little bit and create more contrast. Go, and then let's go on the blue channel. Let's add a little bit yellow and blue on the shadow, a little bit yellow to create more, add more warmness on the look, since this is a clip from a desert in Joshua Tree. Then on green, let's see, maybe we can add a little bit magenta, the mid-tone, by pulling it down. And then on the red channel, I can add cyan in between the shadow and the mid-tone, and then let me bring up the mid-tone again to bring it back to the red, and maybe a bit red on the shadow. Pull up the highlight a little bit, and if I want more yellow on my mid-tone, I'll go back to the blue channel and pull down the mid-tone. Yeah, I prefer to have a little bit more yellow on the shadow, and then on the darkest we'll have more blue. That's how I use Curve to color grade my photos or my video, whether I'm using Photoshop, Lightroom, or Premiere, and other editing software. Like yeah, you can always find the Curve tool. You should try it, whether you're comfortable with doing three-way color grading. That could be an additional tool to adjust a specific tone in your RGB channel. Yep, that's how I use it, and I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Okay. Other color grading tools, which is this tool.